Hi there, welcome to the Noah Presgrove case. Today we're focusing on the question, what was so different about the final party Noah Presgrove attended in comparison to previous weekends or months, whether it be at the same party house or elsewhere with the same set of individuals? What was so different for the outcome to end the way it did? Could it have happened any other time earlier? If it didn't happen September 4th, could it have happened months later, a year later, for as long as Noah spent within the area or around certain individuals? That's what I want to try and break through today, and possibly add in other questions which may not have been raised or talked about much. And I guess that can be applied onto the maps as a swivel about and point out places of interest. But what's also necessary to set the record so we understand where we're at is to make reference to Jan Fiorillo's comment statement in response to Netflix, which you'll be familiar with by now, but we can always go back to it because I underlined some really key important points, including a reference to a previous party. Now, as to who knows what, and if it can be backed up or if there's any evidence, that would be obviously helpful, but we'll get to it bit by bit. And throughout this video, if there are any key individuals that do have answers or want to clear anything up, you can do so down below in the comment section under the video. And that can apply to anyone watching. If you've got any thoughts, agree, disagree, questions, leave them below and I'll try and respond back when there's time. And furthermore, welcome to those that are currently here watching this live premiere. There will be a live chat box on the right hand side if you want to communicate there and be casual. If you want to catch up on recent coverage by me, videos from last night, days before, top right where the I symbol is, if you click up there, you get the drop down box and the full playlist too with all the videos I've done on this case. And last but not least, if you do want to support this channel in alternative ways, down below in the pinned comment section, there'll be some links there. With that all being said, it's time to get on with things, and we start off with Jan's original statement. As you can see on screen, this is it. Highlighted in red are the important parts, highlighted in blue is a previous event. But I will read it out in full this time round, break it down bit by bit. But what we're looking at here does, in a way, link on with Safia's comment recently, which I did go into and analyse, but we can always return back to it. I think the setting, the location and environment and population/witnesses is most key here within this whole case. Would you have had the same outcome with Noah if it had been in a more urban area? And how long would the case have gone on for, if so? First of all, Jan says, concerns regarding alleged documentary, supporting sympathetic point of view towards Avery Combs, Carter Combs, Logan Jernigan, 3 girls that lived at the party house at the time. Then there is Jack Newton, the boyfriend of Carter Combs. Supposedly all 4 of them hosted an illegal party that resulted in Noah's death by providing not only a house but acreage for underage drinking to include minors, 17-year-olds and under, all the way down to 15-year-olds, such as Caden Presley's cousin Georgia and a friend, I think called Breeley or so, for allowing illegal drinking in a dangerous and reckless environment to include unsupervised minors with firearms, deploying, carrying firearms in groups, whilst drinking, driving, riding ATVs both on the property and on the state highway whilst drinking, and the same set of people who hosted a similar party at the exact same location, the party house, the weekend before, but had been reported to LE. This alleged documentary will not create sympathy, and so on and so on. So it's quite interesting this, isn't it? And what else did Jan say? Anyway, you look at it, whether any of these 4 were physically and or directly involved in Noah's death, they created the unsafe environment. 3 days, 3 nights in a row that resulted in the death of one of their guest invitees. An unsafe environment for 3 days. When does that actually start though? Saturday, Sunday, Monday? What about Friday though? Friday is a really dodgy day because there were people there, but as to how many, unknown. Caden did make a reference that he was there Friday, even though in the Partners in True Crime interview he said he didn't want to talk about it, which is interesting. I don't know if I'll include it in this or if I do it as a separate video. I'll have to think about it personally because I'm just thinking of the complications along with it. But let me just make one thing very clear. When I was talking about timestamps and when I was saying about sticking to my guns, based off what has been stated from the horse's mouth, I was right. So when a range of people have said, no, I think you got that wrong, no, it was actually this time, in terms of from the horse's mouth, what I remember, I was right. So I'll be doing a separate video about it, if I can, and if there's no consequences. I just wanted to, I know it sounds vague, but it's for good reason at this moment in time. And specifically, we need to be focusing in on the current discussion before we jump ahead. So, in terms of firearms being present, yeah, but that's more so you've got people that brought the firearms down to the house, not people that live at the house distributing and handing out firearms to guests. Gotta look at it that way. Where it'd be influenced by the dove hunt, you know, people are coming and going. But to be honest, I think the dove hunts, you don't take your own guns, you use what's provided. So maybe it wouldn't be as influential. Still, at least at the party, there was kind of hunting in a way, but more reckless, driving about and shooting here and there. Whether that be birds, a hog, or something like that. It's just a little bit unnecessary in a way. There's no real reason, you're just doing it for fun, killing things. Maybe not everyone will agree with that. But in terms of the responsibilities falling on the host and only the host, guess it depends the age range, but you know, if you got people of a certain age that come on down with firearms, do they really need to be coming on down with them? You know, invitees, guests. Why do they need to bring guns with them? What do they expect is going to happen? And to be fair, 30, 40 people out of that number, how many actually had guns on them? Because when it comes down to the situation with Caden Pressey, Renee Millan and others, the whole point of collecting firearms up, rounding them up to hand them back to the owners later. What firearms were mentioned there? Jack Newton's AR-15 with a thermal scope, Isaac Rojas 12-gauge shotgun, and Brylan Sweat's hunting rifle. Wow, 3 firearms? Ooh, big deal. What about all the other guns? We never hear the number, the figure. It's hard to tell. Because like how it's worded here, dangerous environment, unsupervised, with firearms carrying about in groups. But how many guns were there? That's what I'd like to know. The bit about drinking and driving, ATVs or side-by-sides, that would include Noah Presgrove as well, wouldn't it? At least from what I can remember, when it comes to the driving part, the shooting, the animals, the side-by-side rollover, the general theme is male party goers. What did the female party goers get up to which was just as bad or possibly illegal? That's the way I'm seeing it, you know, when you split it down. The bit about driving on the state highway whilst drinking, do we have evidence and proof of that? Because the way I see this, if people had been drinking whilst driving or drunk whilst driving, Why? It didn't stop them when they were doing it, so why would they be reluctant to take Noah Presgrove home? Why would people say, no, I can't drive you home, Noah? What, because you've been drinking? Oh, because I'm drunk. Oh, but by the way, I got here, or I left later somehow, or at some point, drunk. So I'll do that. I was able to get away with it. I didn't have any issues there. But no, I won't give you a lift home, Noah. This is what the issue is. It seems to be the party could be considered reckless, the environment a little bit dangerous, some taking more responsibility than others. But I think everyone can have an extent, a level of some kind of self-control, which probably wasn't achieved at the time. People in the moment having fun, but also being a bit reckless. Yeah. But I just want to know your thoughts, right? If people were honestly driving down the highway for whatever reason whilst drinking or just drunk, how come none of them gave Noah a lift home? If they were okay being reckless here, why not later or earlier, in whatever order it took place in? It's like one rule for one rule for another. Or like, as for mentality, yeah, I'm okay doing this and that, but I'm not going to do the other stuff, even though it's all of the same nature. It's weird. But the reference to hosting a similar party the weekend before, that's what's interesting, because before seeing Jan's post in the past, it was always worded as, by different people in the community, there was a party that occurred post-death the following weekend. And some in the background have denied it, said it didn't happen. Justin Roy confirmed it and said it did. Caden Pressey as well, in one of the interviews, said it did happen. Following weekend, a party was at the house. But why? And who was there? What was the mood and atmosphere like? That'd be interesting to know. Maybe we can apply that to the map shortly. And as for the weekend before Noah's death and that party, the previous one, it being similar. So what's the ultimate difference then? Let's head on over. Here we are with these markers once again, and that 2:40 timestamp is consistent with what Caden has said. I know some people will find that hard to believe, but don't worry, it's all under control. I will show you when the time comes, but let's just focus on this video first. Keeping these markers up just to point out if necessary, but first of all, this is the party house you'll be very familiar with by now, a mile away from where Noah's body was found. In terms of in the distance where you got Ryan, Sugden, and beyond, many miles away, whether that be a town, a city, more populated location, access to medical services, police, fire. It's going to be further out. Now, in other directions, there may be more local services, but still, just that distance. And looking that way, woodland, thick woodland. Then there is a river, a divide, and then it goes over. So there's that, suppressed by noise. Near to a highway, which sometimes may be busy and other times not so much, as we've kind of seen. Sometimes the noise of the highway can silence noise elsewhere, especially if you're closer to a main road and there's not many trees present. It can be noisy and amplified at times. Down there, where it says Assembly of God, you got Terrell, a town. That's the closest thing, really. And that's going to be limited anyway as for services and what's available there. Population of Terrell, I don't know, is it 200, maybe a bit more? But still, where this party house is, quite a remote area, meaning if anything bad does happen here, it could get forgotten about, or there's a delay as to when it's resolved, or if someone to arrive. Phones are present, which is a positive, meaning communication is still possible to get people to come on down, whether that be a parent, whether it be a family member, a friend, police, if you needed it. And I guess when it comes to communication on the phone with certain parents, whether it be Jasmine Milan with her mother Renee, whether it be Jack Newton with his father Caleb, able to call them somewhere and get them to come on down to seek comfort and answers, whatnot. I get that. That was somewhat successful. I think some people were questioning why did Jack call his father to come on down? I guess maybe because you don't want to leave the scene, you don't want to leave your friend, or you just want to stick about for answers, but at the same time you need some comfort, or you need a family member to talk to and open up. There could be numerous reasons. I wouldn't say it's too much of a big deal on the surface level. But anyway, communication is still possible, even though there's certain areas where the signal reception isn't too good, as experienced by Tyler Hardy down the highway at some point. But communication is still key and works. But physically, visually, when you're there, it's vast and open. And the lighting as well takes a level of importance too. Not too much lighting, nothing down the highway. You got the little street lamp, that one there, the outline shadow of it. That's mainly on site the property. So if it's somewhere within the field, it's going to be a lot darker. You're going to be camouflaged in a way, covered by darkness, night going into early hours of morning. So anything does happen outside, who's going to honestly see it? Especially along a highway where you're moving at a fair speed, you're not going to have time to stop or stare out the side of the window. Normally, you're going to be looking ahead along the road and make sure you don't crash and stay safe. Anything that happens on the side of the highway in these fields, you're probably not going to look. Maybe a quick glance. You're not going to be able to recognise anyone's face or pick up on much. What I'm basically getting at is this area is an ideal place. If anything bad was to happen to someone, others who may be responsible may be able to get away with it or conceal themselves, conceal the event at the time of it unfolding, with it being rural, quiet, away from most of the population. And, interesting saying that, because as rural and quiet as this overall place is, at the time of a party taking place, the final one Noah attended, at some point there was a fair number of people present, which is quite eye-opening, 30, 40 people. But when the 30, 40 people were there, nothing bad happened to Noah, supposedly. Bad things only happened when the remainder were about 10 or so, 10, 11, 12 people left at the party house. More familiar faces than the other strangers that left at some point, I guess. And that's where you start questioning what's so different about this party compared to the weekend before, if that truly did happen. Whilst it's only one other example, like a case study, I think that needs to be observed the most. But also, questions do need to be asked. Like right now, I'm just going to change the scenery for a second, just so it's not too boring for people whilst I'm talking. But you've got a supposed party at the same location which happened the weekend before. What is it with all this partying in a short space of time? They've got time. Saturday or Sunday, they're not doing much, hanging out, having fun, fair enough. The reasoning behind the final party Noah attended was mainly because of Avery's birthday, a birthday party. That makes sense. Now, a key viewer on my channel, Cleo, also known as My Clee or something, highlighted, did the birthday girl have a birthday cake? Did they say happy birthday? Was the general theme of the party all about Avery or just in general? And that's a key point mentioned by Cleo. It would make sense, a party because of a birthday of someone, celebrating that and all having a good time. And it just happens to fall on or near to Labor Day, which is another, a day of celebration or so in the US. But what about the weekend before? What was the reasoning behind that party? Just in general? Do the parties vary depending on what the occasion is? Like if it's Christmas, New Year's Eve, a birthday party, you might celebrate it more. Maybe drink more as well, eat more. If you're just having a casual, toned down party, it might not get as wild. But based off what Jan Fiorillo has stated, the weekend before, that party was similar to the final party which Noah attended, which must mean that there was alcohol present, possibly underage people once again, drinking, driving possibly, presence of firearms once again, and more. What's most interesting is that supposed party which happened the weekend before Noah's death, that was reported to the police. Why and who? Who would report that party the weekend before to the police? Who is around? What houses are nearby? Neighbours? Don't see any. Why would anyone feel the need to report that party? Or how would people know if they're just passing by? You know, if it was down to noise pollution, being too noisy, causing possible trouble, threatening behaviour, dangerous acts, and there was witnesses nearby, standing around, watching, living nearby and reporting it in because they've had enough, okay, fair enough. But it doesn't seem to be the case because it's so rural and empty. Things like this, if it can be answered in the comment section, that would be appreciated. So the weekend before Noah's death, a party taking place similar in style and the same location. How many people showed up to that party and who attended? Did Noah Presgrove attend it? Because if he did, what was different then? The atmosphere? Was there any tension, any arguments, falling outs, or not? I mean, there was arguments at the final party which Noah attended, Avery's birthday one, and that was to do with girl trouble. Was there any indication of that the weekend before or not? Did Caden Pressey attend the weekend before party or not? So it'd be good to know the named individuals. If it's consistent, as in those that showed up the weekend before also showed up on the final party with Noah, that's kind of interesting. If it's a completely different set or combination of people previously, whether Noah's there or not, that could explain as to why Noah didn't die on a previous occasion. Sometimes, if you've got the wrong combination of people present together all in the same room, it might not end too well. If people don't like one another, or it becomes known at some point they then don't like one another. If you're around people you're familiar with, comfortable with talking to and hanging out, there shouldn't be really any issues, should there? And if people are truly friends of one another, then it shouldn't even get to the point of possible danger of one's life, danger to someone's life. But that's what happened with Noah. In terms of the routine as well, that's what I need to question. Okay, some partygoers say it's normal for Noah to wander off. If it's so normal for Noah to wander off, is it normally the custom tradition of someone like Jasmine Milan or another partygoer regularly takes a Snapchat post and says, well, Noah's missing, and then after possibly go searching for him, successful or not? Is that traditional as well? Because if not, then it would mean these specific alternative actions are a bit more abnormal because they don't normally happen. If it's not normal for a partygoer to do a Snapchat post, say, well, Noah's missing, and smile. If it's not normal, nor is it the regular for people to then go out searching for Noah, then it's going to stand out, isn't it? Making the overall final party different to previous ones. I mean, how were previous parties before, the weekend before it? If Noah was there, that's a key point, isn't it? If Noah's not there, then it's kind of pointless talking about arguably. But then again, not completely. We just have to refer to a much older event, a much older party, which may have taken place in the same location which Noah attended months before. Whenever, in his second to last party, how did it go? How did he get there? I think that's what's needed. Was Noah ever dependent on other partygoers, on past visits, past parties where he needed a lift back home, but he actually received one? But then comes September 4th, 2023. Oh, not this time. No one's going to give you a lift home. But in Jan's statement, there were people drinking and driving. And those that were drinking and driving had no issues there, but did have issues with when Noah said, "Can you take me home?" And they're like, "No, we're not going to do that." Oh, because of longer distance, more chance of getting caught, pulled over. Simply driving up and down the highway nearby, you can get away with it because there's not much or not many people in sight. I'm kind of drifting in and out of these points, but I think when it comes to the patterns and routines of partying, not that it should be the same every time or robotic or too boring, I get, but what are the abnormalities within the Noah Presgrove case and the party? What was so different this time round compared to previous parties? At least from how Jan worded it, the party which Noah attended, his final one, was similar to the one that occurred a weekend before, whether Noah was there or not. So the final party was a supposed dangerous or reckless environment which enhances or increases the chances of Noah's death by a certain amount. Why, if Noah did attend, that's what the condition would have to be. If Noah did attend the weekend before party, why didn't he die then? Why didn't he die earlier? Look at it within the Dylan Rounds case. There's been times in the past where Dylan was around James Brenner. There was many opportunities where Brenner could have killed Dylan at any point before that for a disagreement, an argument. Even a time in 2021 or 2020 where Dylan overheard Brenner saying, "Oh, I'm going to kill Justin," which was Dylan's father. Now, Dylan didn't take it too serious at the time, but still to witness and hear that, and you're around that person at times in real life, it's not exactly a good place or a good person to be around. A bit of a red flag moment, but still. True threatening behaviour which occurred then, or possible. Did anything happen? No. Oh, does that mean it'll be safe in the future? No, not exactly. But you fast forward onwards, what happened? Eventually at some point, 28th of May 2022, Dylan Rounds shot multiple times in the head by Brenner. On that day, Memorial Day weekend, a weekend where people would be partying, and there was a tragedy. Does there seem to be a link established with parties, celebrations and tragedies? Well, it might be enhanced more or covered or have a stronger presence, atmosphere about it, because it shows that true isolation and division between at a time of where it's supposed to be most happiest, where there's supposed to be a lot of fun and positive stuff going on, but then in another place with another person in their life, they're going through the absolute worst, whether it be fatal or some other issue. It doesn't have to be physical, it could be internal, it could be psychological. Kind of like you refer to Christmas, it's supposed to be good, but it might not be for everyone. So it kind of really intensifies it more and the focus about it. Not that it applies on the same level, but in terms of a separate example where you might get a certain crime, bad thing going on in the world, and it's like, oh my God, why is it getting so bad? And there's a possibility that it may have always been like this to an extent. It's only been reported on now compared to the past. So I guess it depends how it could be covered and how it's talked about when it comes to tragedies and bad events, which just happen to fall on or around a time of celebration or happiness, which is for some but not for others. So when you got that big divide between positive, negative, light, dark, it might be covered by media more intensely, more exaggerative words, emotional words to really touch the hearts and strings of people, possibly. We're not going off topic there, but it's just because I don't want to revolve it all around partying, drinking, alcohol, which will equal this and that. It's just because with Dylan Rounds, whilst it happened over Memorial Day weekend, a time of celebration and reflection and whatnot, people getting together in communities, Dylan Rounds had the opportunity to go down to, Montello, Nevada, but Dylan refused because he wanted to focus on his farming. Fair enough. As for James Brenner, the murderer, well, I don't think he was really wanting to or welcomed in the town of Montello at the time, but he was going to hang out with his friend Don Hatley later to have a barbecue. So for some, it was a time of hanging out and doing stuff. For Dylan, he just wanted to focus on with his own personal things and responsibilities. And even though it wasn't at a party, there was still a bad event that occurred. Now, as for Brenner, whether he had alcohol in his system or not at the time, or if he was drinking heavy the night before, I honestly don't know. If that really was the case, then, oh God, alcohol, once again, somehow getting caught up within the conversations. But that's just a separate example I wanted to add in. As for right now, what we should be focusing on, Noah Presgrove, I'd like to know who reported the party to the police the weekend before Avery's birthday party? Who would have reported it and for what reason? And I believe it wasn't resolved or followed up on. And even if it was, those that reported it the first time round, why not the next weekend, Avery's birthday? Is it because they weren't in the area at the time? You know, it's just interesting to report it to police. There's got to be a good reason to do so, because someone or some people are doing something wrong or illegal, bad enough to catch someone's attention. You think about it, in a rural area where you've just got a highway where people pass by and don't think much of it, like there is a house down there. But for someone to report it to the LE must have been bad enough or big enough, obvious, to get the attention of someone or some people to take action against those partying. Was there any repercussions? If not, does that then set the theme of and the attitude towards the following party, the final one for Noah, and why it ended up the way it did? Why there wasn't enough proactivity from some, because they weren't proactive the weekend before when reported. Whatever, we'll let it slide. Now, we won't put any restrictions on, and no curfews, no telling off, no punishment. They can party again the next weekend and do even more illegal things or break social hosting laws. Oh well, never mind. So I find interesting. See, at the end of the day, the outlook or attitude towards some within the case, if it wasn't for Noah's death, could be like, well, you know what? No one died, so nothing really bad happened. No one really got hurt, so does it really matter? We're just having fun. That can be the excuse by people in life at times. You know, if no one's dead, then it's all right. You know where that goes? Like a rapist mentality. You do what you do to someone, you might break them psychologically and damage them that way. But as for physically, it might not be that obvious on the surface level. So just because someone who's been been attacked, a victim, on the surface level outside looks normal, then some attitudes could be, well, it can't be that bad. Was much bad done in the first place? That's where it gets manipulative. That's where it comes to downplaying the significance or downplaying the damage what's been caused that impacted onto someone. So I think when it comes to the Noah Presgrove case, I have seen signs of manipulative external minimalisation where you play down the importance of certain events and arguments to protect yourself. I think Jack's demonstrated it. Brooke Bounds Carter has demonstrated it. Sarah Long, in a way. In terms of Sarah Long, her attitude, or at least at some point, reminds me of certain behaviour. So apologies about jumping cut from the camera angle, but I just wanted to do it this way. It's just easier to focus in rather than the visual map, because we go deeper now in here with the attitudes. What are the attitudes of the party goers and external people that may have not been there? Whether that applies to the final party, the birthday one, or the weekend before. Did recklessness come from the certain attitudes of people at the time, right? Did the downplaying of events, which could be quite significant or a part of the timeline leading up to Noah's death, have been minimised to benefit others who could be behind it taking place? I made a reference to Jack Newton, and we don't just focus on him because there are other people demonstrating certain attitudes, but let me just use Jack Newton example just for now, because it's easier and clearer, more simple. That argument that took place Saturday, how it was portrayed in the past was it was Jack who had a problem with Noah. Ever since that Caden Pressey leaked interview, it was actually the other way around. Noah having a problem with Jack. Noah starting the argument, yelling at Jack for Jack, best friend, stabbing Noah in the back and flirting with Noah's girlfriend at some point. Not the right thing to do. Shouldn't really be doing it. Especially if it conflicts with the time of when Jack was getting close to Carter or was already with Carter to some extent. Makes it very fiddly and complex. Why would that stuff happen? And, you know, when we look at it from that side, what Caden Pressey witnessed, Jack being in the wrong, Noah having every right to have a go at Jack, give him a piece of the mind. I get that. But for Jack, the one to come out of it, because he's the only one that can talk about it as a first-hand account witness, because Noah isn't around to talk, he can't. Jack's the one that speaks out public or makes a post somewhere online about how, oh, it wasn't that big of a deal. We hugged, we cried, it was resolved in the end. We did this, we did that. It was okay between both of us. Why should you be wording it as me and us when it was you who was supposedly the problem and caused the issue with Noah? Basing it off that way round. And if it wasn't that way round, it could be the other way. It seems more one-sided, not 50-50. So besides minimising the event, external manipulative minimisation by Jack, oh, it wasn't that big of a deal, the argument. Well, I think it was somewhat significant considering what it could have led to next. Eye for an eye, shower, who's present, any more issues in between, Colton being told off by Jack, younger brother, for just simply talking to Carter in a room. You can see the tenseness, possible jealousy, insecurities, a little bit of controlling nature and whatnot. So I think that one argument that took place Saturday could link onto a flow of other issues with girl trouble. The theme of girl trouble, the beginning argument being the catalyst, the starter, the origins of it all unfolding and heating up. So I think that argument was important, even though Jack downplays it. But besides the attitude of downplaying it, the attitude of making it seem like both were in the wrong, both were having an argument, it was a 50-50 ordeal. But supposedly in the end, it was just simply Jack that did wrong and Noah was telling Jack off about finding out what happened, as worded by Caden Pressey. So yeah, it's like where you shift blame onto the other person and it's easy to do when they're not here anymore. It's like the attitude by people in the world that will try and link themselves or associate themselves to others or say, we're all in the same boat at the end of the day. No. Everybody is unique to themselves, but also the encounters they face. Unique, positive encounters, experiences, but also negative ones. Yeah, a person could have a heart attack here. Another person over there could have 4 back to back. The theme of, oh, we're all in the same boat. No, some people are more worse off than others. Some people are more better off than others. Some, current, and then others later. So different attitudes, unless people subconsciously do it in such a way to place something down to protect themselves or minimize something so it doesn't impact them too much. It depends whether it's outwards or internal. Outwards to help others, even though it may not be truly genuine or realistic, or inwards to help yourself. And I think in this case it was more inwards, but external, manipulative minimalization, playing it down and passing on the responsibility elsewhere. It wasn't just a me problem, it was an us problem. Me and Noah, but it seemed more so Jack. But Jack probably wouldn't fully admit that. Just a possibility. The other attitude to be highlighted, kind of linking on, is with Sarah Long by saying how, we like Noah, care for Noah, we're friends, not directly between those two, but like as a community and those she knows of and connected to who are friends of Noah Presgrove and some closer than others, to then say a cold line such as, well, at the end of the day, it really falls on Noah, what he did at the party, alcohol, drinking, walking off, present at the highway, and somehow dying, possibly getting hit. Interesting for Sarah not to even mention any responsibility or any comeuppance on the possible driver that may have accidentally hit Noah. No reference of that person probably should have stopped, or that person should be feeling a little bit guilty, or there should be a little bit of justice there. No, just simply put as, it's Noah's fault, end of the day, case closed. That's how it can be interpreted as by Sarah Long. So, in terms of examples which are a little bit rough around the edges, but I can still make a case for it as for links, the typical attitude of, oh look, there's someone over there, bad things may happen, well, it all falls onto them, it's all their fault and they deserve it, the end. Let's just ignore all the other little factors in between, which is out of one's control. Let's ignore some other points. Let's pass the buck, pass the responsibility onto somebody else. It's almost in a completely different situation, but with the same damn attitude of passing on the buck mentality when you're in the presence of someone else or some other people, where an individual you come across may not be in the best place, may be worn down, broken or lost, not completely beyond repair, but not in the best situation. And it's that typical thing of, if you're to open up or talk, if you're in the presence of others when you're at your worst, it's the time where people who may know or may not quite know you are quick to just pass on the buck and responsibility and say, nope, you're too broken, you're too fucked up in the head, you need to get help, you need to talk to someone. It's always worded in such a patronizing way, just like patronizing positivity. Oh, it's just seen as a form of guidance and what someone should be doing or where someone could be going. It's just so weak, it's so thin, it's so robotic, like a script which a lot of the human race use. No attempt, no care, no effort, absolutely F all. And it's not in a situation where someone should be forced to act differently towards a complete stranger, but it's just that typical timing of, if you show negatives first, instantly tossed aside, sent packing elsewhere, in one way of wording it. Oh, you go and get some help, you go and get drugged up, you go and talk. It's in a patronizing way, that attitude behind it, that tone, that sharpness, that coldness. You see where the theme is getting at? Oh, not everybody means it. Not everyone's truly like that. Subconsciously could tell a completely different story. See, not that I can be a great example, but there might have been times I've come across some people and they may have opened up. The first thing that you should be saying is, I appreciate it, or thank you, to an extent. The fact that someone can actually talk, regardless of the environment. But no, the way other people would react is, "Oh, oh, that's such a shame. Oh, so sorry," in such a patronizing tone and voice, that attitude. "Oh, maybe you should go here, you should go there, you should talk to someone." It's just typical cancer, even though maybe it's not always done with intent, it's just a little cancerous undertone. See, most people may not be qualified to react and to respond, nor know what to do or say. Neither am I. And yet, in terms of how I've responded, what I've been able to do, not without going into too much detail or too deep, it's somewhat manageable. You don't have to go above and beyond. You're not forced to really do anything, but it does come down to time, place, environment, situation, many, many factors. But still, I don't know, it's just the attitude. I mean, kind of jumping the gun, but I would say the negatives need to occur, or are best to occur first before the positives. Just like the criticisms, the flaws, or the shortcomings, or the compensating factors when it comes to an individual. You see all the negatives first. And if you're still standing, or you're like, okay, so what? No issues here, it's fine, doesn't matter, look past it, look beyond. You look beyond, you stand, you survive, whatever, through the negatives, any positives can come. It's when it's the other way around. You see the positives first, oh, it's all nice, it's all perfect. But does it always stay like that? No, because maybe with time, and I'm talking very vague, but it can be symbolisms of many things, okay? It's easier being vague, believe me. But then you see the positives first, then the negatives, like, oh, like a downward slope. You start off at the bottom, you work your way up. Start off with the negatives, you go past them, and you move up. Do it the other way around, it's just a downwards trend. Can go back up, but with people's attitudes and mentalities, it has to be a certain way first. So yeah, so whilst jumping about, to refer back to just that general theme of attitude and passing the responsibility on elsewhere, suddenly going cold. It's basically, if you want to avoid the coldness, the dark reality is, no matter how fucked up you are or how broken, basically, you gotta hold it together like a cracked vase full of water. That's where it is. If you undo it from the beginning, that's it, game over. We don't want anything to do with you. Piss off, go drug yourself up, come back as a new person, and now we may welcome you in. Or now, one-on-one, things can happen. What a load of fucking bollocks. At the end of the day, if you're not there to be around someone at their absolute fucking worst, then you have no point or presence in being allowed to be around someone at their best. To an extent. Time and place, but it's just the attitudes with the human fucking race. So to refer back to Sarah Long, whilst it seems like we've gone so off track, no, we haven't. It's all under control. To refer back to a situation where you've got known individuals who actually know Noah Presgrove. Noah Presgrove is in a certain way at the time. May not be all down to in here, or the negatives and all this and that, health this and health that, these bandwagon trendy words people like to use, which I don't. Whilst Noah may not have been in that state of mind, just at the time he was in a state of where he just wanted to go. He just wanted to leave. And for the longer time he spent on site, maybe he did start to feel a bit uncomfortable or a bit frustrated. And it's around people you fucking know. They should know your patterns, your behavior, your likes, your dislikes, when you are comfortable, when you are not, you know, and other issues along the way. There should be a little bit of care or a little bit of awareness, but oh no, that awareness is thrown out of the book when it's passed on to, yeah, well, Noah, his situation, yeah, he may have wanted to leave. There are people around that could have maybe helped him to an extent, possibly. If they were quite okay with driving on a highway at some point drunk, if that applies to any. But I know they didn't want to try it towards Noah. It's just interesting. Normally, when give these like external examples, it's a lot easier to do, but I guess because I've not done it for quite some time, it's very rusty, definitely rusty, because I've just been really locked in and focused with YouTube true crime mysteries. That's it. As for all the external examples, or maybe through experience or whatever, it's not quite there anymore, which can have its positives and negatives. But still, at the end of the day, attitudes to an extent, what I'm seeing in this case and what I may have seen in the community, and then when I look back at previous cases, attitudes there, it's becoming a kind of telling. It's interesting in a way. But apologies if anyone did get bored. We'll just return to the maps right now just to focus back in on certain stuff. So here we are, returning back to the street view, which I guess isn't really needed at the moment. So we basically confirmed that rural, empty, desolate, low population, and those that were present at the house, some may know, others completely in the dark, but a controlled set of people. Noah Presgrove, by choice or not, possibly single-handedly isolating himself, unknowingly aware of what was going to happen next, actually made it easier for someone or some people if responsible for murdering Noah. You know what I'm saying? If Noah had walked away to just simply cool off and intend on returning back, by him isolating himself from close friends inside of the house, it made him more vulnerable, more prone to being attacked, and no one actually seeing it. Now, it does make you think, with the CCTV cameras, what could they have picked up on if they had been working or in use at the time? And were any of the partygoers or hosts aware that the cameras were a bit faulty or not? That would be like a side point, but maybe we can look at that into the future. What I'm getting at is, if there was similar recklessness the weekend before, and yet it was reported to police, what was the follow-up from that? It didn't seem to faze people then, because the same happened the following week, which was the one Noah attended the birthday party, Labour Day, that time round. So it didn't deter people, it didn't put people off from partying again. So obviously there must have been a feeling of invincibility. Well, we may have done some reckless stuff, maybe we got in trouble, maybe there was a warning, but either way, no real consequences. Who cares? Let's go at it again. So if action was taken, if there was more restrictions from the weekend before, whatever that may be, then Noah could still be alive till this day. Yes, but it just would have delayed it, that's all. For as long as Noah Presgrove possibly spent in a certain environment, possibly around certain people, and the theme of alcohol, it just would have delayed the inevitable. That's the way I see it, personally. If Noah had gone to the military as soon as possible, immediately before that party, and never returned back, then higher chances of survival in that way. But, you know, if you are joining the military, and depending what you do there, you could end up dead, depending if you're deployed or not, or what you get up to. I'm not an expert there, take that in mind, but sometimes it comes down to the environment and the distance yourself or not. But previously I've mentioned how, in general, parties, not just this one or these people, but parties in the area further afar, when they've taken place, has it led to the death of someone, and how often does that happen? I've not seen any statistics, I've not really seen any comments or points about it, but one thing that seems to be the case is there's been previous parties which Noah may have attended directly at this house or elsewhere with the same set group of people, nothing bad happened there, Noah was safe and okay. So why ultimately was it different this time round? Wrong place, wrong time, wrong combination of people showing up who did not show up a weekend before. There's certain measures behind it. Besides the attitudes, what comes with attitudes are people. What comes with people is a brain. Well, most have one. And within that brain, that's where the attitudes can stem from, and the thoughts, the actions, responses, and how people operate. You need people at a party for, a party to truly take place. If there were certain individuals showing up a weekend before who did not show up again the next weekend, could that be a factor? Those that were present at the party which Noah attended and then later died, were they at the party the weekend before? If not, is there some kind of combination? Any parties which involved people present at the one Noah attended if they attended ones in the past which Noah didn't attend? Is that why Noah didn't die earlier? I'm just trying to get like some kind of theme going and discussion, if people understand what I'm trying to get at. The routine of what Noah normally does at parties would be walking off when drunk. Mentioned by Sarah Long, roughly. More so mentioned by Jasmine Millan. Reiterated by Caden Pressey. And I do remember hearing that. That's what Caden said. What are the abnormalities? What events unfolded at the party which haven't happened beforehand? Does a side-by-side rollover normally occur? Does a sleeping debacle normally occur? Does name-calling normally happen? Does slapping normally take place? What was ultimately different about this final party Noah attended? If anyone can make a list or bullet point the possibilities, then you can go from there and find the odd ones out and how it may connect with other stuff. To refer back to Safia's comment, the key factor of it being rural in a bit of a creepy, quiet area enables endless possibilities of doing bad stuff or slightly reckless things without fearing or worrying about what other people think, because there's not really many people around to sit or stand or watch, because there's no neighbours, at least, on the other side of the road or nearby, no neighbours, and just people simply passing by. If you were down a street living amongst many houses and people, you might be thinking, they might complain about the noise. That person may say we're partying too long. Oh, they don't like the noise and, all kinds of stuff. But if you're in the middle of nowhere, who's honestly going to care? So that when it came to the weekend before, a person or people that did care to report it into the LE, there must have been a reason for it. And did anything that happened there, in order for it to be reported, reoccur the final time or not? So just wanted to throw that out. Now we transition onto comments, just to refresh, change stuff up so I don't get too deep, but then again I think we've already got deep enough. My goodness. I just want to catch up with some comments. I did do 2 videos last night. I'm only looking at one of which, more of a discussion based one. Jade says, Brylan Sweat's mom replied to one of my comments to Brylan and has said, why won't you come forwards to the public to say who is telling the truth between Jack and Caden, or Caden? And Brylan's mom said, him coming forwards won't do anything. Well, I said, yes, it would either stop people calling Jack a murderer if he's telling the truth, or if Caden is telling the truth, it would stop people calling Caden a liar. Brylan said to me to not talk down to his mother. Doesn't sound too good, does that? Or helpful. Skippy, I'm surprised she even responded to you. It would help if he provided his points of view, what he saw when he was awake. Why did he and the other guy switch sleeping positions with Mikey? Was he on that side-by-side rollover with Noah? Did he see Noah's body well enough to determine if he had shorts on and what colour? Yes, all key. Teresa, do you remember Caden said Brylan and Jack pulled up at store gas station after funeral? They told Caden, don't get it twisted. Not sure if that was on Partners in True Crime. I don't remember ever hearing that personally. Yeah, and what an odd comment. Get what twisted? The truth? Shaking my head. That makes me wonder if they all know what happened. I don't know if it was his mom until Brian told me, in quotes, do not talk down on my mom. I wasn't rude to her. She responded to me. Wow, I'm just surprised at even engaging these questions. So you're right, why not give his side of what he saw and knows? I'm also curious to know why Jack texted Caden a while back, in the diner, so concerned about Caden's timeline, which didn't jive with Jack's. Yet Jack didn't ask Caden why he believed he saw the black shorts on the shorts is a bigger deal than mixed up timelines. Victor, I'd like to know what Brylan had to say, but I guess some will believe him and others won't. Teresa, they wanted him to go along with their BS story, or saying don't F with them is my guess, I don't know. Lawyers probably advised not to talk. I know, that's very sus. In my opinion, everyone that was there knows what happened. Riley not going to come forward if he's getting paid, possibly. And Melanie, shout out to Melanie, who is also a member on the channel. Much appreciated. If it's so simple, there should be a simple answer. All right, Raf. Ha! That's quoting what I said in the last video. Yeah, exactly. This is exactly right. And it's what we're not getting. We're getting anything but simple answers. Hopefully I can come out with more quotes or, you know, just points, my opinion, and then it turns into a quote. It's just, at times I end up fucking it up when I'm trying to talk and I'm like, or mispronounce it. Like if you were telling a joke and then you end up, you know, delivering it poorly, it's like, shit, it would have sounded so much better if I didn't stutter, if I didn't mispronounce it or whatever. I'm doing it already now. But shut up, move on. Safia, the girls in that comment were George and a friend. The girls in that comment, what comment? I don't know. I can't remember now. Bradley, dude, you are a troll. Leave this family alone with your BS, or I will be representing them in court to sue you for damaging the case progression. Quit spreading rumours, and rumours are what they are. So here is Bradley Wells, appearing to be a default profile. They appear to have 0 videos on their channel, no subscribers, joined 12 years ago, not much contribution to the case, so they're not really in a position to be talking. You know, talking about suing this and suing that. Oh, that reminds me of a certain someone that said that in the past and was threatening everyone and may or may not have had a channel as well. Oh, boring presence. But who's this person subscribed to? Amelia? Don't care. Anyone else of interest? Don't know really any of these people. Bradley Wells is subscribed to Duty Ron. How interesting. Any other familiar ones? No. I mean, if you go onto the person's channel to look at subscriptions, it will not show, it goes blank. I don't know why, but response-wise, Skippy, what kind of lawyer says dude before threatening to sue someone? An individual that says dude when they're about to threaten to sue someone sounds very similar to what Travis did in the past. Travis Davidson. Interesting. Not a single uppercase letter or punctuation in the documented threat. I wonder if M is making a reference to the George Choden situation with the false claims made by a certain individual out there elsewhere that was trying to pin it to me with language and all that wacky stuff. I wonder. Victor, who? Skippy, people laughing. We're used to threats from the perpetrators and the families. You don't scare us. I think he's a senior partner in Scooby-Doo law firm. I should use Scooby's official name since I don't want that lawyer. What? Scooby? Skippy? I can't get it out. I've not done it for a while. Noah will forever be young, beautiful. Cece, if anyone remembers the conversation with the grandmother saying Noah's phone was blowing up with calls and texts begging him to come back out there, please tell me where it is. Cannot find it. Show me that of like a screenshot on an earlier podcast, but I can't remember which one. Whose channel though? Partners in True Crime or someone else? One day, good job, Well Like Ref video made me recall things I read when I first started following the case. That's good to know, appreciate that. And you're welcome. Cleo, you're welcome. Howard, I think Noah knew something was going to happen, and that's why he was trying to get a ride. Someone knows exactly what happened, and I hope they tell the truth soon. Thank you, Ref. You're welcome. Thanks for being here. Don't know if I've seen Howard before, but welcome to the channel. Skippy, did Noah overhear or see something that made him nervous, so he didn't want to stick around that crowd? It may not have had to do with him, but rather stumbled upon something. Did the people involved in that something later realise Noah had seen them and so they went after him? Who knows? I really like the props behind you today. That's good. Safia, thank you, Ralph. Your videos are the best. That's good to know. Appreciate that. Popsky, good video. Appreciate that. Melanie, that scary cabinet in the background got a good jump out of me. I looked down and back up and I saw the hand. Then I did later and I saw the face peeking out and watching in the dark. You got me good. Oh, there we go. See, you know, some people watching in the dark, it could have more impact. I mean, if it came to Sharon getting scared, it's not like she could run away or move because she's tucked in like a sausage roll, as she described. What would you be able to do? Just pop your head out and that's pretty much it. Peekaboo, Sharon. Melanie, thank you, Raf. Hope others will also give dollars, super chats, and super stickers. Appreciate all you do. So that's you never know who knows what happens, but shout out to Melanie for supporting the channel, comments and discussions, and see what happens next. Speaking of which, Lisa says, time out, hold on. So at the timestamp, 29 minutes, 40 seconds, this person makes an excellent point. 2:30 a.m. is a pivotal point because Caden was watching his cousin like a hawk. Wait, 2:30 a.m. was he? 2:30 a.m. I thought Caden was asleep at 2 in the morning onwards. Expected to follow her to the bathroom to make sure he got there and back okay, without anybody photographing her. However, we're supposed to believe while Caden was sleeping, his 15-year-old cousin was told to leave the house immediately, run down the gravel road and head towards Highway 81. I don't remember that. All done, it's a little 15-year-old drunk girl, and the mother says, hurry, get out of the house, start walking and I'll pick you up on the side. That didn't happen. I'm sure there's a response. Alicia Lee, the mother to Caden Pressey, responds, see, this never happened. She was never walking down the road, Caden's cousin. She left in a car with her friend's sister. She was not aware that her mother and I, Melissa, were coming to get her. She was never told to walk to the road. That clears that up. Pop, love your victim's hand slipping out the wardrobe. Hope they don't escape. Or is it your secret information agent? Ooh, I don't know. Do I have a secret agent or not? I guess I'd best be careful because if there's any secrets laying about or tucked away, maybe Catwoman will come along and snatch it. Who knows? I don't know where Catwoman is. If they're going to use that long tail or, was it lasso or whip, to snatch the things away. Who knows? Justin, Noah was only at the party Sunday for roughly 3 hours before he started asking for a ride home. Nobody thinks that's odd. I've not really looked into the timing of, what time did Noah agree to come on down? What time did Noah get picked up by Gage Jessen? What time did Noah arrive at the party house, just to get a better idea? To be there for only 3 hours and then to want to leave is a little bit odd. Again, whatever happened Saturday night, Sunday morning led to what happened to Noah, in my opinion, seems like one big web of lies. Something or someone gave Noah cause for concerns about returning to the party on Sunday. Once there, he wanted to leave. Why? He may not have been afraid to stay, but he was uncomfortable or concerned enough to want to leave. Was anyone encouraging him to drink so he'd let his guard down? So just a quick question, or an additional one towards Justin. Do you feel anything that happened on the Saturday or Sunday morning caused any issues for Noah to leave and be reluctant in returning back to then later be persuaded? Queen, which of Caden's leg was injured, left or right? I think it's his left leg. Glenn, shout out to Glenn. And what else? Pop, Saturday fight, UFC were good. That's good to know. No worries, busy. Game isn't going anywhere. Okay, so appreciate the understanding. Apologies on the detox conversation. You don't need to apologise. You do what you need to do, or what you need to say. It's fine. And when it comes to YouTube, if they do try silencing or restricting comments, which is out of my control, I always make sure to go to the held for review section to approve them, because sometimes YouTube end up silencing the wrong people, people that don't deserve it, and then others that talk a load of shit seem to get a free pass by YouTube, which is very odd. But we've caught up with the comments there. I think another thing that could be slightly questioned is the initiative, the attitudes behind that. If Noah, in a certain situation, and such as wanting to go back home, was there no initiative by anyone thinking, well, I can't drive, You can't drive, they can't drive, she can't drive. Who can? If someone took the initiative to call or contact Gage Jessen to pick Noah, Mikey up to bring him down to the party at some point on Sunday afternoon, evening, why couldn't that initiative have been taken up once again Monday morning or so? Whether that be by Gage or another contact. Or, I mean, quick question, at that party house, if you needed a taxi, an Uber, or whatever exists out there, is it possible to get a hold of? Can you get one? Or is it just not possible? Out of reach, out of service, not within the area? If there was, and I don't mean hitchhiking, that's too risky and too dodgy, put that aside. But was there any other initiative, not in keeping Noah alive, but just following through with his wishes? And I do understand, once again, it shouldn't all be about Noah, because there are other people at the party that may want to leave or do this or do that. But then the counterpoint would be, it just so happens that supposedly the others that wanted to leave or were considering it at some point were actually able to, yet Noah wasn't. Is Noah the only party goer that wanted to leave, but no one would take him back? If at the same time of that unfolding, if someone else at the party said, oh, I want to go back home as well, and I live in that same direction, would people follow up on that offer instead of Noah's? Then that would seem a little personal and petty, or for certain reasons, it's like, oh, okay. But I guess it's that taking up initiative, maybe not accepting full responsibility in that sense or passing on the buck elsewhere, but just taking a bit of initiative to get a better outcome. So to reiterate those shit references, what I was trying to get at earlier with external examples of, you come across someone or some people and they're like a vase with many cracks in, trying to hold water inside for it not to spill out. Instead of just simply saying, well, you're completely damaged, you need to go back wherever you came from, or you need to go and get help, it's, how about this? Let's apply some tape. It's not going to completely fix it, but it will enable something to happen. It might enable some growth. And depending the position someone is in, or the capacities they have, let's get the glue out. Let's mend it bit by bit. There's many different ways. I don't want to get too deep, because if we get too deep, people may have a headache, or it just gets too, I don't know. I'm not doing it for a while. But there are ways around it. There are some ways around it with Noah Presgrove in that environment and that situation that could have been dealt with, and the attitudes, and just like external examples as well. Let's leave it there for now. Hopefully the video was somewhat interesting. It was ticking these ideas off the list. This was kind of like a fresh idea, influenced from last night's. So let's see how that goes down. And there are some other ideas as well which I can fill out too, and I'll get to it. But if you want, feel free to hit the like button, share it, just spread the awareness so more people get to see this conversation and the discussions. Because whereas we can analyse the party, what went right, what went wrong, what could have been changed, what's strange, to put it into better perspective, compare to the previous party, the last known one before it. And if that's not applicable, the last known party before Avery's birthday, which Noah attended, and how that went down. Spot the difference, check for the abnormalities, what stands out the most, who stands out the most, who was present here but not present there, who was present there but not here, and how did it time with Noah. So my name's Warlike Raf. I'll see you next time, whenever that is. Goodbye, good night for now.